Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Roots Refuge Farm. My name is Jess, and today I want to give you guys a little bit of an update and a review on this little plastic greenhouse. Now, I get asked about greenhouses like this every year. Since I started doing YouTube, I've had some sort of seed starting solution. I've had a couple of different greenhouses outside. One was primarily plastic. It was a Harbor Freight kit, and one was primarily glass, being made of recycled windows. Here at our new farm, we're currently building and finishing up a greenhouse that is also made of recycled windows. I also had a basement at my old house where I did a lot of my seed starting. So I've never needed something like these little cheap plastic greenhouses that people get to start seeds. So naturally, when people ask me, hey, what do you think about these? They send me pictures. I would say, I don't know, I don't have any experience, but I've heard some really bad things. This year, because our greenhouse wasn't done yet, I found myself in need of a solution. And I thought, well, this will be a great opportunity for me to try out something, give it my opinion, see how I can best make it work, and then maybe find a resource that would be beneficial for you guys. So I bought this little greenhouse on Amazon for about 60 bucks. I shared the process of putting it together in a video, which I will link below for you guys. And I realized as soon as we put it together, dang, this thing is super flimsy. So I knew we were gonna have to make some slight alterations to make me feel comfortable with putting seeds in here, because it stinks so bad to put work and money into starting seeds and then lose them because the tray gets knocked over and everything gets mixed up, or whatever. I mean, you just don't want to lose that. It's like throwing your money and your time down the drain. Right off the bat, we knew that this thing was going to need some real reinforcement. The way we did that was we put these cinder blocks around the bottom to weigh down the bottom, and also just to weigh down the plastic covering. We drove these T-posts into the sides and just took this cable and wrapped it over the top. So that's not a ton of reinforcement. And my husband Maya had actually talked about maybe taking further measures, but I was like, you know, I kind of want to see if we can just do this simple that any person can do. A couple of T-posts are not super expensive. This simple cable and some cinder blocks. Most people will be able to do something like that. And I would say that has made this secure enough for me to feel comfortable with it. We did have a pretty intense storm come through here with gusts of wind. They were about 40 to 50 miles per hour, and that held this secure. This is not a solution if you live in a place that is very cold, and even if it is going to freeze, even just a couple degrees below freezing, I would not leave frost tender plants in here. My observations are that it gets very, very warm in here during a sunny day. So warm, in fact, that you need to open the door, or else you risk burning your plants and scalding them. And it gets very, very cold in here at night. I don't think that it really holds much warmth at all at night. It does protect the plants from the wind, but on the few nights that we've had that have been below freezing since I put this up, I just went ahead and took my plants in the house. And you might think there, well, what's the point of having a greenhouse if you have to take the stuff in the house when it freezes? That's actually not unusual. The benefit of this greenhouse is that every day these plants are able to stay in a nice warm place. It can be humid in here, especially if I've got it closed up and if watered, it's very humid in here, which is a benefit. But then they're also protected from my cats. And so on those freezing nights, I was able to take the few trays in, put them in my bathtub, and close my bathroom door to keep my cats away from them. Obviously, that's not a long-term solution, so I had to move them back out during the day. And that was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but as long as it's getting above freezing during the day, even when it was not, it was still very cold outside, but it was sunny, it was nice and warm in here. So I would say this isn't going to be like a major season extension if you live in a place that's like real cold. You're not going to grow through the winter for the most part in something like this because it's still going to freeze. But it did enable me to have space to have seedlings growing before the danger of frost has passed. And I've just had to be really observant watching to see if it's going to freeze. And that's not unusual. Even when I have my very nice glass greenhouses, you have to be very hands-on. And in those, I might be able to run a heater. I probably would not trust this with a heater running inside. I would probably still move my plants inside during a freeze, because my experience of these is that they don't really hold a lot of heat if it's not sunny outside. If it's sunny, they do great, but if it's not sunny, it's pretty chilly in here. Now these came with these little wire racks, and another modification we made was to add these little zip ties to hold these racks down. They came with some clips, but they just popped right off. And this has meant that all of the shelves are very secure. Now these trays are pretty, I mean, they're substantial when they're full of wet soil, and they're fine. Obviously, I would probably be hesitant to put any major weight on there. Like for instance, I wouldn't suggest anybody stand on these or sit on these, because I don't think the frame could handle that, but they're doing just fine with these trays. Another benefit of this was that it was very easy to put together. My husband helped me put this together, but I could have very easily done it on my own. There's no real particular skill set involved in doing that. I'm not much for construction. He's the one who does the building. And so if I say if something is like, if I can put it together, you can put it together. The instructions were a little iffy, as these products often are, but I was able to figure it out. There were pictures, and it was pretty self-explanatory when you got all the pieces together. It's like, okay, I can get this, I can figure it out. It's kind of like putting together a puzzle. Now I did receive some comments from viewers whenever I shared this. Many people said to make sure that you anchor this, because on its own it's definitely a volatile space to have your seedlings, and I can understand that it's very flimsy. Like I said, we did some very simple anchoring. I had several suggestions as far as driving posts into the ground, anchoring this down with bungee cords, with different kinds of cords. I did see somebody said that they drove T-posts in kind of on the inside and then put this panel over the top. The biggest thing that people who had used these suggested was to not leave this plastic on out of season, because it breaks down in the sunlight. And everybody said that the most you can hope to get for these is maybe 2 or 3 years if you leave them out all the time, because this plastic does break down. But a lot of people said that if you actually take the plastic off, fold it up, and store it in the house when you're not using this, that you get a lot more use out of it, and you just put it back together during the season that you need it. Overall, I feel like I got my $60 worth. I would not have been able to start all of these seeds at all if I didn't have some place like this to put them. Now I've got all of these tomato seedlings, and while I will be up potting these and growing them out the rest of the way in my glass greenhouse, this gave me a head start on the season. And if you were starting seeds for a smaller garden, you could definitely grow them up in here. The only thing is if it's going to freeze, you would want to move them into a place where you could guarantee they would not freeze, and then also secure this thing, because it's not going to be a safe place for your seeds otherwise. But I can see that this is a viable option for people who are willing to not just open a product and use it right away, but put in a little extra care and effort to make sure that it's going to be safe. If you, like I, have terrorist cats inside your house that will destroy any plant that is left out on a surface for them to knock off, here may be a solution for you. Well, that's it. I'll put links down below to us putting this up, as well as some other greenhouse content. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I bless you. Until next time.